Welcome everybody to Forza Horizon 4, and today we're taking a look at the 1963 Opel Kadett A. Now this was produced between 1962 and 1965, with nearly 650,000 being built. The name itself comes from an older model produced from 1936 to 1940, and there were three body styles on offer: a two-door saloon, a three-door estate, and this coupe. And this was praised at the time for offering more passenger space, more luggage capacity, and better visibility than its much more popular competitor, the Volkswagen Beetle. And it's also got more power than the Beetle, and it also weighs less as well at 1,543 pounds, which is 217 pounds less than the Beetle, which obviously means with that extra power that it's faster in terms of acceleration and in terms of top speed. Now, granted, this is a more conventional looking vehicle than the Beetle, which to me personally is a strength, not a weakness, because it means you know what you're getting. It's also conventional in terms of its underpinnings, its front engine, rear wheel drive, and but again, that means you know what you're getting, and it's more well known in terms of when it comes to repairing or maintenance or anything like that. And its second strength is easily the engine, weighing in at a mere 96 kilos. This 1 litre inline 4 engine produces 46 horsepower and 54 pounds-feet of torque. This is the most powerful version of the engine. There were two different power levels. This is the S motor version, but there was the more standard version which produced 39 horsepower. But again, that's not all that bad, especially when you consider it doesn't weigh all that much, and that is only 1 horsepower less than the Beetle. But this more powerful version has 6 horsepower more than the Beetle, which obviously helps when it comes to the lack of weight that this has over that car as well. Granted, the Beetle does have slightly more torque at 65 pounds-feet of torque, but that's the only advantage the Beetle has over this, quite frankly. And like I said, offers more interior space than the Beetle, as well as better visibility. And everything is here that you'd expect from a car from the early 60s on a smaller economy car. And I do really rather like the interior. I like its simplicity, and it's easy to understand what is there and what you can use and what for. And luggage space, like I said, is also better than the Beetle. It's really rather cavernous in here, which is obviously an advantage when this is obviously going to be an everyday vehicle. It's not a sports car or anything like that, but an everyday vehicle that has a decent amount of power and torque to it, but also has plenty of interior space, and luggage space is not bad whatsoever. Now, this car did have some reliability issues later in life, the longer you used it, but to all intents and purposes, the engine was the strongest part of the car, to the point where the engine was actually still used in cars from the 90s, like of the Vauxhall Nova and the Opel Corsa. So, strengths, the engine, and the conventional approach to the vehicle itself. Weaknesses, the styling isn't the greatest, but I do like the raised rear fenders. They look kind of like wings, from the 60s and late 50s in America. That styling was popular at the time, and if you squint a little bit, it does kind of look like a Chevy Nova from the 60s as well, a smaller version of that muscle car. But there's really not much in terms of weaknesses in terms of general usability on this game, and it's far faster than the Beetle, and better handling as well, and a much nicer drive as well as that. So let's get out there nonetheless and see what it can do. So this is principally a nicer drive than the Beetle, purely because the engine itself sounds better. That air-cooled VW Beetle engine really doesn't sound all that great. Now granted, there are air-cooled engines that do sound good, but that engine, it really annoys me in terms of the way it sounds. So immediately this is a better vehicle to drive just because the engine sounds better, so it's less annoying, and you can put up with it a lot more. And then obviously the fact that it's a far better car to drive, and a far better car in terms of acceleration and top speed. 0 to 16.630 seconds, and it can do a top speed of 87 miles an hour, whereas the Beetle can only do 0 to 16.23.020 seconds and go to a top speed of 83 miles an hour. Now granted, acceleration times and top speed really aren't the focus of a small economy car like this. Most of the time you're not even going to be doing 60, certainly not going to be doing more than 80, so that really is a bit of a null and void kind of thing to be comparing against, but it is an advantage over the Beetle nonetheless. and certainly does come into use when you want to pull out of a junction or pull onto a motorway or something like that. So there is definitely some use for this car to have a lot less weight and a little bit more power. Though obviously the lack of torque over the Beetle does mean that when it comes to obviously carrying a heavy load or anything like that, this is probably not going to be as good as that. But overall, in terms of driving, this is better than the Beetle, and it's also better in terms of handling as well, because obviously it doesn't have that rear engine over the rear axle, so you've got very little in the way of oversteer. There's a hint of understeer at times, but nowhere near as bad as some cars from the time. I'm not really proving my point here, but that's primarily down to my driving. But yeah, not quite as much understeer as some cars from the time, though there is a hint of it, like I said. And yeah, that hint can become a bit of a loud shout when you don't really pay attention to it, but it is manageable the more you drive it, and the more you drive it, the more you come to enjoy it. Because yeah, a lot of people hate on cars like this being featured in the game because it's got less than 50 horsepower, it's not really all that quick, can't even do 100 mile an hour or anything like that. But cars like this are a welcome addition to the game, purely because it gives us a look at what more ordinary cars were like at the time. We all know what the supercars, racers and everything like that were like at the time, but more ordinary cars like this that sold in the hundreds of thousands is somewhat more interesting than the cars that were only sold in the hundreds. And yeah, gives us an insight into what ordinary vehicles were like in terms of the the approach that they were going for, the styling, the interior accommodation, the luggage space and all that lot, and the differences in between the different versions of cars like this. So yeah, I was really rather surprised by how different this was over the likes of the Beetle. Granted, I knew this wasn't rear engined and was only front engine rear wheel drive, but outside of that I really didn't expect there to be much of a difference, but there is. And yeah, this might not have sold as well as the Beetle, but it's a far better car in general, quite frankly. And yeah, some people might see the conventional approach of the car as a weakness, but I personally see it as an advantage, because therefore you know what you're getting, and yeah, it's more usable on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, really do like the addition of this car, and obviously a lot of people will know this car from that famous Top Gear episode where they were in Africa, where Richard Hammond used one. But it's far more of a interesting car than just the fact that it was featured on a famous on a famous TV show. It's got a lot more going for it than that. Nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.